Okay, welcome everybody. I'll call the Monday, April 22nd, Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item is approval of agenda.
I need to add a
Okay,
committee report on the reports.
financial.
Yes, yeah, for the RSU Finance
Yeah.
Committee meeting.
I also need under general business to add, 3 items for Bentley Saloon, amusement permit, liquor license, and consider expanded area for consumption of alcohol.
So what was the first item?
Amusement permit,
Okay. Second one?
liquor
With a
license,
And then
and
the
a
expansion.
request for the expanded area for consumption of alcohol during certain events.
Approve as amended.
And under
citizen.
under item 7, Mr. Raymond asked to be removed from the agenda.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, he called, and the attorneys are working with the planner, and apparently they're making pretty good progress on his request, and he did wanna come in and start a bunch of waves and stuff.
Very
So
good.
you just assume wait.
Okay.
And then I'd like to add update on the military truck.
You gonna have that on the manager's report?
I can, if that works best for you. Probably the better spot for it, so. Okay. So there was a motion by Jason to approve as amended, seconded by Phil. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Next item is a public forum. This is where we entertain public comments on non-agenda items. Is there anybody from the public that would like to make any comments? Okay, seeing none. Minutes of April 8th, 2018.
Didn't see anything in there, make a motion to approve that was written.
Okay, motion by Velma, seconded by Jason. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Committee and board reports. Velma has an RSU 21 Finance Committee update.
Yeah, they met Thursday, April 11th, and they have gone out to bid for audits, and will probably stick with the company that does the audit now, which is Whipley, because they getting the convenience, professional grade depth methods. They can get a 2-year contract for an option of 4 more years at a better price. Surplus property. First, they're gonna post it to the communities, and apparently there was 0 interest, and they have 1 van and 2 buses, and they're going to sell them where they can get the most money. And any buses that were paid for with state money, they have to show proof that these were demolished or decommissioned. So apparently there is a company that takes these buses and puts them in a bus demolition derby. Yeah.
And that's a fact.
That's how they prove that they have been properly demolished and decommissioned.
So,
Both of those buses were buses that, they're replacement from the state, whatever it was.
If-
Replacement.
If they've been replaced, if they were paid for with state funds, they have to do this. Apparently, they had some grants.
Yes.
I don't know what they have to do in the case of a grant,
So
but
both of these, because of grants, both of these buses have to be demolished?
they must have, says we have to show proof that they were, yeah.
They were.
So that's what they're going to do. Then they talked about disposing of property. Apparently they have several trailers full of stuff. Chairs, desks, et cetera, stuff that they probably will never get used again. So they're starting to clean out trailers. They talked about having a tag sale, small furniture, sending stuff to Ruth Resources. But the committee has, directed them to dispose of the items for the most money that they can get that will be beneficial to the RSU and the towns. The construction audit, looks as though it's gonna come in under budget and, should be available in 2 weeks or so. Okay, let's see. Oh, we are getting, Dawn did go out and get a VW bus grant funding for one bus, which was for $16,000 plus $9,000 for safety items. And they are buying one bus with some state funding for $20,000, and that will be a van. Okay, we looked at the key metrics report, and the tuition line is way down because there is a savings right now of almost $1 million in the tuition line, even with $400,000 as a placeholder for special education out of district. And so far, they have been very fortunate they haven't had to use that, but it's put in there every year.
What causes, less kids, what causes that tuition line to be that far down? Most kids came to Kennedy?
Yes, that, plus the fact that when the report comes in from the schools that have our tuition kids, they now have to have proof that these kids live in, if they're Arundel tuition students, they have to have proof that they live in Arundel, and they've had several that have been taken off the tuition line because it was proved they did not actually live in Arundel. Plus more kids going to Kennebunk.
Okay. Thank you, Velma. Next item is the manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, first I just wanna give you an update on the status of our patrol deputies. If you recall, I think it's several weeks ago, we were under the impression that, Deputy Woodcock would be leaving our service. From what I understand, that has now been reversed. He's going to stay, which is good for us. Not quite sure what the geographic and demographics are to that decision, but he'll be here. And then, I'm not sure if you knew this, but Deputy 70 has been out on extended injury leave for, I don't know, probably over a month now, maybe even longer. And he'll be returning to duty tomorrow. It'll be his first time back. So the sheriff's office has been covering that shift with their patrol deputies. So we weren't without coverage, but it would be nice to have both our deputies back in and operating for us.
Did we, when we did our budget, did we put Deputy Woodcock's figures in, or did we knock that down a little bit?
No, we didn't. And one thing I want to talk to you about when we get to the warrant, it's one of the discussions, is the amount of money that's in there is identical to what it was last year. They gave me an analysis of what they felt the money would be, and it falls within that scope. They've given me Deputy Woodcock and Deputy 70's balance sheet, so to speak. So I have all that information. It should remain the same. With our, as you know, with our efforts to put together our new municipal building, we've been working on quite a few different ways to tackle, this project moving forward. One of the options that was presented to us was to move forward with the construction management process, which, would provide us, going out through RFQs, to, look at various, construction companies that could provide that service, and then having the board or the committee, or whoever is together, to make a selection of that, particular, company or individual we will work with. They would then work with the architects to put together a guaranteed, price for the construction of the building. And this process, what it does for us essentially would be to cut back on, all the architectural costs that would be up front. In fact, if we had to go through all the documents, get finished documents, and then, go out to bid to secure a company to provide that service to us. So, in essence, we've earmarked $160,000 for the architect's fees, and by bringing a construction manager on at a certain stage in this process, we'll stop, doing any more development of final drawings until he's on board, so in essence, we'd be able to save some money there. What it would do, though, would provide us an estimate with the architect and the construction manager moving forward to give us an estimate of what the cost, the guaranteed cost of that project would be, without the final drawings. Then it would be up to the construction manager to ensure that that final amount, when and if approved by the annual town meeting, would be the amount that would be used for the project. The issues that we've been dealing with is how this relates to our charter, and how, in fact, if it's in conflict in any way. Our charter, under the duties and responsibilities of the town manager, indicated anything over $5,000 needs to go out to a competitive bid. We've had some discussions on that between you folks here at the table, and as well as our attorney who's weighed in via email with us, as to how she feels about it. So I think what we want to try to do tonight, if in fact we have enough information, is to provide some sort of guidance of how we want to proceed. Are we going to, do we feel that there's flexibility within the charter, because of the large project we have here, that we can follow another process and procedure that certainly will be transparent to the public, and provide them an opportunity to see this project as a whole? Or do we feel as a group that we're limited to the essence of what the charter says, that anything over $5,000 has to go out to bid? So hopefully I've given enough history here, and haven't swayed it one way or the other in terms of how we should deal with it. So I guess that's what we're dealing with, and not sure how you want to proceed.
Well, I guess I kind of raised the issue.
You did.
Which troubled me a bit as I was driving home, but I got home, Jack. And, you know, obviously the benefit of going out to bid is that whether it's service or whether it's a vehicle or whatever, we spec something out, this is what we want. Send it out there through reputable firms, or send it out and decide to hire a reputable firm, and we get a lowest number available. Under this process, we're gonna hire a construction manager who somehow is gonna come up with a number that we have no way to compare it to anything else, as far as I can see. How do I know that's the lowest number? I mean, there's just no way of knowing, I don't think.
I think the only way you would know it is before the number is developed, is to have conversations with the construction manager and our goals and our thoughts about it. But you're right, you run the thought that you may not get a dead down lowest price that you
Right.
possibly could get.
Right.
The thing is, I guess the way I look at it, are we willing to risk the full amount for the architectural plans and her drawings to get ready to go to bid? Or do we feel that there may be enough savings that this project is gonna come in?
But without architectural plans and specs, how in the world can anybody come up with a number?
Well, they're gonna have some sort of certain drawings, they know what the wall, is gonna be built like, they know what coverings will be on the outside, they have a general idea of what the, interior finishes will be. There'll be and you guys in the construction business will have to help me, there'll probably be a certain amount of money set aside for flooring finishes and window finishes and things like that, so, there'll be an estimate for that, based on their experience, so.
Doesn't make sense to me, but.
The RSU saved a lot of money by going with a construction manager rather than the other way. Now, I understand that they still, even with the construction manager, things went out to bid.
Right, they go out to bid,
Yeah, things
it's up to
still
the
go out to
construction
Through
manager
the
to
construction
provide,
manager.
yeah,
Through it.
yeah.
through the construction manager,
Yeah.
correct. They go out to bid for each independent part of it, the framing, the roofing, the interior work, the mechanicals, things along that line. But to Tom's thought, if I'm carrying it out correctly, is that they still gotta come up with a guaranteed price. Now, whether it's $2 million, that's gonna be the guaranteed price, they'll come to us and say, we think it's gonna be $2 million, it's not gonna be any more than that, because we've committed to that. So whatever number is, they're gonna commit to that number, and that would be the number that we would commit to in essence, going to the town meeting.
Right, but when we go to town meeting, these questions they put to us, how did you come up with that number?
Right.
And is that the lowest bid we got? And how can we answer that?
You can only answer it through the process that we're using. And I guess the issue is whether or not we believe that process is the best way for us to move forward.
Well, whether it's the best way or not.
Or whether it's the right.
That's right. Contradicts the charter provision, that's what troubles me.
Well, yeah, you and I probably have a different
Right, it's fine.
take on this, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Keith, has there been any discussion with Lita about what the savings would be on our end if we did hire a construction manager?
I don't think so. I don't think there's been a discussion, Jack, that I can call that we've had at the meetings.
I think the only savings you could particularly count on, and Keith and I have spent some time on this too.
And I'm strictly in referring to her fee,
Her fee
architectural
will be
160
perhaps $100,000 less than
to start.
it would be if she has to do a full set of construction drawings to do the old-fashioned bid process, because you've gotta, if you do the old, what I call the traditional bid process, as Tom was describing, you've gotta have many sets of construction drawings, you know that.
Yeah.
And you distribute them to anybody who wants them, and they take them home and they work up for bid. I mean, that's the process that works. My understanding of a construction manager, after I finally got it through my head, is a construction manager will contact 5, 6, 7 of his, let's say, normal contacts, electricians, for example, and they'll sit down and get prices. He'll get prices from, those electricians. He'll do the same for plumbing, he'll do the same for drywall, he'll do the same for this and that, and as a result of that collection of data that he will obtain from different people given different prices, he'll put together a final price for us to look at. So I think you just described it, Dan, by saying he'll bid for you through his, people that he normally works with.
But if this guy's getting a 10% markup on bids, and if we're saving $100,000 from the architect, but the building comes in at $2 million and this guy's getting 10%, so now we're $100,000 behind
Yeah, I don't think it works that way.
We haven't negotiated that fee, right?
Right.
It's a negotiated.
Plus, this guy stays with you through, and basically runs the whole project.
Right, the construction manager gets a fee up front. They will build that into their presentation. This is, whether it's, 5% or 3% of the guaranteed, construction cost for the project. And then
Also
you'll know
in
what it
place
is.
of clerk of the works.
Correct.
And we're gonna need that no matter which route we go. I mean, we're gonna need somebody, cause we're not gonna sit here and go out for bids for all electricians, and Leader is not gonna do that
Right.
also, so we're gonna need somebody to do that no matter what.
Unless you go the traditional cost, where
General
you would
contract.
have a full set of drawings, you would put those out to bid, and then a general contractor will pick his subs, and those will be the subs that'll work on the project. And he'll give us a cost associated with that.
But why do you say we're gonna save $100,000?
If Lita runs through the whole process of doing construction drawings, she's gonna basically spend her total budget.
Sure.
She'll be done.
No.
She'll have her construction, right, I mean, with the exception of a few site visits, she'll be done. So if she doesn't do that, she's gonna produce a very minimal amount of, drawings for a construction manager to use to seek prices. Therefore, her whole budget won't be spent.
Not initially, they'll have to do some drawings and.
Yeah.
Eventually, the
We're gonna pay her the
construction.
$160 no matter what.
But the,
But-
Well,
but
no,
the,
you're
well,
not.
wait a minute.
You're not gonna pay her if
If
the
the project-
town kills the project.
Correct.
That's the piece.
Oh, yeah,
that's-
yeah,
That's
so
the
I
piece.
understand
Okay,
that, yeah,
so
you're right.
basically, she saves $100,000 up front. Then you go to the town meeting, if the town meeting kills this project, we've just saved $100,000. If the town says, go ahead with it, then she has to finish up all the rest of the drawings and stuff for the construction manager. And the other thing I think we need to keep in mind is, we get to pick a construction manager by interviewing people who are interested in taking the job on as construction manager. By doing that, you can develop a little bit of a rapport with them, hopefully, you get a feeling for who you're dealing with. If you go the traditional bid route, you gotta go with the lowest bidder, and God knows who that is.
Lowest qualified bidder.
The lowest,
Right.
okay, lowest qualified bidder, but still, the lowest qualified bidder, who might be somebody that you don't know, that you have no experience with, and then you're in a situation where you're forced to go hire a clerk of the works to keep tabs on this guy, and that's gonna get expensive. So I think the construction manager approach does have some real plus factors going for it, but I appreciate Tom's concern about, does this run in violation of the
It's gonna
contract?
be impossible for us to get a hard number without a set of full drawings inspection. Nobody in their right mind is gonna stick to their number.
Well,
And I
They're
don't
gonna
wanna
give us-
go to the town with a not to exceed number. I don't wanna do that. I don't feel like we are responsibly advocating for the public with a not to exceed number.
That's not the way Lita described it, Jason.
But
She
how else
wasn't-
could we ever get voter approval? You're gonna have to present them with something.
You've got to
right, there's
present
gonna
it
be a
something.
guaranteed maximum price,
I don't
not
wanna
to
do
exceed.
Yeah, I don't,
I think that's why we're having this discussion tonight.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that you guys need to decide. And then that will set up what we do next. Is if the decision of this board is to know we're gonna go traditional bid process, then our marching orders to leader are quite clear. Finish up the drawings, come forward
And
with
go out
construction
to bid.
and go out to bid.
that's the
I-
only way you're gonna get a real.
I was also told that with the construction manager, going the construction manager route, that our local, business people have a lot better chance of bidding and getting in on the contract. Because I know that one of the electricians, for Kennybunk, I understand, was from Arundel. So you go with go out to bid, and you get a company from Portland, and they already have all their people. And yes, you've gotta go out and hire a clerk of the works to keep your eye on them, where the construction manager does all of that for you. And we went out to bid on the schools, we had an amount, we had plans before it went out to bid.
Correct, you'll
Yeah.
have final plans that will be used, right.
I'm for the bid process myself. I feel as if that's our responsibility to try to get the lowest qualified number as possible. And I don't see how you can possibly do it without a full set of construction drawings and inspection.
You can,
They had those before they went out to bid.
Not quite sure, but the way it was described to me is that the construction manager and the architect will work to put together a guaranteed maximum price based on their knowledge and expertise that they have on the material that we now presently have. Whether she does more work to give him better, cost estimate, I'm not sure, but that's not the way she described it to us. So,
I think we get our best results with a construction manager.
With the bid process. Is that
I'm
what-
gonna ask you guys to, you know,
Yeah.
at some point to make a vote tonight, so
Yeah,
so we have clear direction, cause it actually, though we have a committee, it actually rests with you to make that decision.
So let me ask the question. If we go and have Lita get the full, you know, continue on and get all the full drawings,
Yep.
we still will need a construction manager, right? Or we get a clerk of the works.
You'll have a clerk
We
of
need
the
one or
works then.
the other, right?
You'll definitely have a clerk of the works, cause you'll hire a general contractor to do the work. Clerk of the works will have to oversee that general contractor's work.
So doesn't it make better sense to have a construction manager after she does all of her stuff? She gets all the bids going? Maybe I'm missing what each one of them do.
Well, I provided you a little background information that I gave you in your, not in your packet, but after, to try to get some better sense of this. Reading that made more sense to me than listening to what Lita had to say, as this process unfolds, but, I'm getting a feeling of the board here that this may be a 3-2 vote. So, you know, I don't wanna.
Which is
I don't wanna-
okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't wanna delay it in any way, I just,
No, we can't delay it.
no, I think that, you know, whatever we do here tonight will give clear direction to the architect. We can provide that to her tomorrow, and she can move forward with her plans.
I think that we're gonna get a better outcome with less cost with a construction manager.
Jack, I know you've been wanting to say something for a little bit.
If I may, yes. During the construction of these 3 buildings, the architect provided drawings about 30% of the way down the complete path, to the point where you can make an accurate estimate of costs. You don't have to go the full documentation of all the detailed drawings to get to the point where you can make an accurate estimate. And that's exactly what was done. Then at that point is when construction managers were interviewed and one chosen. And in fact, the first one that was chosen was let go. And a second one was hired because things weren't working out. And,
Cause there was a disparity in the price, right?
there was a lot of issues. The first one couldn't come in with a price that we felt was acceptable. And, so, got rid of that one and went to the second one. I think the main benefit is not to get down to the lowest dollar amount necessarily, but to get the best value for your dollar and stay within a given price. You want a price that you can go out to the public with, that you're, if you will, 100% confident it's gonna get done and it's gonna get done right within that dollar amount, and you don't have to come back for more. That's certainly something you never wanna do. it's a process too where, from our standpoint, we would likely hire an owner's representative who's looking over the whole project, because you folks can't do that day to day. And you need somebody on your side, an owner's representative, and a clerk of the works who's on site, you know, a few hours, several times a week. You need both entities. And, I think you'll find that it's a very good way to go. I didn't know anything about it, and don't get me wrong, I'm no expert now. The owner's representative who represented the school district, I've talked with, he can come in and tell you more about the process if you wish. He's not available tomorrow night, but could be in the near future, but you wanna make a decision now. Nevertheless, it might be useful to get some further insight into the process. Thank you.
Donna's got a hand up.
Donna?
I'm not in any way familiar with the finer points of this, but I do agree with Tom. I think you need to be very cautious about, as a matter of principle, even the appearance of not following the charter.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not, I understand the charter and I understand what it says, I also understand what it was written, when it was written. And I have an argument that some of that written historic language does not meet modern times. And that obviously a statement that everything over 5,000 will go out to bid is pretty black and white. But obviously it doesn't fit in a situation where you are building a $2 million building and you have a variety of processes to, you know, to look at to get to that goal. I think the lawyer's interpretation that you're still within the, you know, the regulations because you're going to the public and the public will vote on this, certainly has made me feel better about whether or not you're in compliance or not. And if she says you're good to go, I guess that would be relaxing enough for me. The language doesn't fit the situation, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is the voters are gonna decide whether we move forward on this or
Exactly.
not. Right, I mean, that's really, that's the bottom line. We'll just have to spend some money to get there, you know, but.
But under
And
the
we've
bid
already
process.
started that with hiring an architect. And we've already hired an architect. Granted, you know, we did the interview process, but we didn't go with the lowest bid. We just went with who we felt was the right person, and then at that point, we discussed how we're gonna pay and how much we're gonna pay them. It's no different, I think.
If I can just add too, though, this project really isn't a big project in the schemes of construction projects. I really think to get two sets of drawing, to pay someone to do a 50% drawing, to think that we can gain close enough numbers, and then eventually having to buy a set of construction drawings so that someone can actually build a building. It's such a small project that I think we'd be wasting money on that 50% drawing. I mean, that could cost $10,000, but that could also be light fixtures in the whole building for that $10,000. So you might as well spend the money on the full set of drawings now and be done with it.
Now, Jason, she wasn't talking about saving $10,000, I think.
No, I was just
Lita-
referencing, I was just making a
I
reference.
think Lita was talking more about saving $100,000
that you don't have to spend.
But if you
before
factor
getting
in,
the price on the
you're gonna
building.
eventually have to buy a full set of drawings anyway, you're not
But-
saving
but-
anything.
But that's all included in her price, one way or the other, whichever way you go, she gets to do.
So if we call her
all the
tomorrow
drawings.
and say, we want a full set of drawings with a spec sheet, but we're gonna hire a clerk of the works or a construction manager, we're gonna save $100,000 from Leader's,
No,
No,
that's
No.
my argument.
you're not.
Right.
You're not
The
gonna save-
potential is there.
The only risk you take, in my view, is that you're gonna take the risk that you're gonna spend $160,000 up front for construction drawings, going out to bid, have a bid price.
Right.
Take that to a special annual town meeting to get a vote, and if you get rejected, you spend $160,000 for no project. That's the risk that you take.
Well, but that's assuming that we're just gonna fold up our tents at that point in
Right,
time.
you have a set of drawings at that point.
Right.
It's
You
not
could
like
go
you don't
back
have
out-
nothing.
Yeah, you could go back on the
Right.
bid,
Right.
you could hold on to the bid documents
Exactly, right.
until the market comes a little different.
You
Yeah,
have all of
I-
that, all of that
right.
upfront work done.
yeah, that's a good argument too.
How big is this building gonna be? That sounds, I used to be a construction manager for one city center in Portland. You guys must be building one heck of a building for $160,000 for
We're building,
architect plans.
we're building 7,300,
Almost 8,000.
almost 8,000 square
Less
feet.
than 8,000 square feet.
Jason's got a point, and this is not a skyscraper, you know, this is not, this is, I said all along, it's a big house,
Oh, it is?
you know, and I sort of disagree a little bit with Jack, I'm not sure you need a clerk of the works and an owner's rep when you've got a town manager and, you know, I mean, I think that's sort of heavy duty on the supervisory capacity, where your clerk of the works is basically employed by you, you've got that set of eyes that you're looking, and that communication, hopefully. I understand when you got a bigger scope of things, you know, it's a little different. I think the only thing you have to kind of use for a criteria is how confident are you that this building is gonna get approved by the public? If you're fairly confident it's gonna get approved by the public, you're gonna spend $160,000 for, you know, the total architect and the plans, and you're gonna have a final set of drawings. And if you get it approved, you move on. If you think that this is a real risk, and you're gonna get a set of plans that are gonna end up on a shelf someplace, you've lost a good piece of your seed money, you know. With one exception, as Tom said, a set of plans is a set of plans, it doesn't mean that they're gonna go on a shelf, it means they may get modified.
When we bought this piece of property to put a building on it,
Right.
as a municipal office, what are we gonna do? We gotta keep moving forward in some ways.
I agree.
Yeah.
And my put is, we modify a leader's contract and get everything that we need so that can go out to bid.
I truly believe that if we had a full set of drawings, we could get this building way under, maybe not way under, but under the projected 2.25 that we seem to be carrying with us. To me, that seems like an awful lot of money.
We're up to 2.5 now.
That seems like a ton of money for
Well,
this
the square
building.
footage cost is, according to Leader, the square footage cost has gone up, they've done some research on the square footage cost.
And my fear with that, I'll say it again, like I said at several meetings, that if we did not go this route, I feel like we're playing that poker hand before we, if the architect firm that we know is carrying forward a $2.5 million price tag, everybody in her bid pool is gonna know that number up front, and they're all gonna be within 5% of each other, because they know that the town's approved $2.5 million to build I've seen it, and it's,
And that's why we don't wanna go that route, right, that's why
I
we
think we can
wanna-
save money with the construction manager, I really do. A lot of money.
And a full
Okay,
set
then
plan.
why are you,
Right.
But the full set of
if you
plans from
believe
Leader,
we
or
can
the
save a
full set
lot
of
of
plans
money
from?
by going the construction manager route, why do you keep advocating to go the bid route?
No, I think he's confusing both processes. I think,
Yeah, you just contradicted
Confusing
yourself,
me.
Jason.
I think Jason believes that maybe the bid, once you go to bid, you can still hire a construction manager.
I thought that was the whole point of the construction manager, was
No.
to go to bid.
No,
No, the construction manager works with the architect to put together a guaranteed maximum price, which then goes out to bid. And then,
Yeah, I was
and
confused.
so,
Yeah.
and the other thing too, Jason.
I'm for the bid process, but
Yeah, the other thing with that, with the construction manager is that that person may also be employed by a large construction company.
Yeah.
So you could have, you know, one of the big guys come in and bid on the construction management piece, and then all of a sudden, all right, he's your construction manager, well, he's gonna use P&C to do the general.
I don't think we need a guy that big,
Okay.
or a girl, sorry, but,
Person,
this really isn't a hard project to oversee. I mean, one of the guys on our committee could very easily look at this spec sheet and pull into that site and know whether or not they're putting this kind of vinyl siding versus that kind of vinyl siding. It's, I don't think we need to spend crazy money for a construction manager on this building, I really don't.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think
I would hate,
part of that, I agree with, but, you know, there are a lot of innards, and there's a lot of inner workings that, you know, when you start talking vault, when you start talking, you know, the multimedia stuff that we wanna put in there, and, you know, I think you need experts to do that. It's easy to go outside and look and say, yeah, you're putting on the wrong vinyl siding, or to watch them and say that, you know, you're not building this wall to the spec that was provided, but once you start getting into the, you know, deeper into the building, I
The spec
think
sheet is gonna dictate, Dan, down to the color of the screws and the outlet covers in every room and every outlet in that building, and
so if you don't have a construction manager, you're gonna have to have a clerk of the work.
Correct.
correct.
we need somebody on board.
Right.
Yeah.
If you
But
go the
from
bid route,
start
you're
to
gonna hire
finish,
yourself you're
every
gonna hire
day,
yourself a clerk.
Clerk of the work.
Gonna sit down and study them plans, step by step, every day, and make sure everything's right.
You know what bothers me a little bit too, is that this construction manager, he's gonna be locked into this price. But everybody's assuming he's our advocate down there,
Correct.
and I think that's a conflict to some degree. If he's gotta be looking at what he's bumping up against that price, you know, who's down there being sure that he's actually doing what he said he was gonna do?
Well, I think what was suggested to kind of counteract that was that you build an incentive clause into a contract with the construction manager, so that if he can drive the cost of this building down any further while it's being built, he gets a cut of the savings.
Yeah, but John, how's he doing that?
Yeah,
There's another conflict.
gotta be careful what
See,
what
you
corners
gotta
he's
doing?
cutting.
He's cutting corners someplace, and
Yeah,
what's
you
going
gotta
on?
be real careful with that track.
The last
He
project
cut
that I,
corners to get his percentage.
the last project that I was involved in municipal was the police station in Old Lodge. And we did it a very traditional way. We had an architect that drew the building. We had the plans were distributed from New Hampshire to Prescott. And everybody bid on, we had an old-fashioned bid opening where the architect basically ran the process, opened the bids, did not award the bid, analyzed all the bids, because you know, that in itself is a skill, okay, to analyze the bids. And the low bid we did not accept. We accept the second bidder, who happened to be Benchmark in this case, which is fairly well known in the area. And then we immediately hired a clerk. And that clerk basically lived between a trailer and my office. And just did nothing but communicate back and forth, inspect the building, and came to did all of the requisition meetings with us, and came and reported to the selectmen on occasion the progress of the, you know, the project, et cetera. And was part of the final inspection. That's about as basic as I think you get.
Why wouldn't we do the same thing here?
Right there, that's why I've advocated for a clerk right from the start of our meeting. That's what the clerk does.
I think we're making this way
Keeps
more
that
difficult than
project
it
under
is.
control.
Well, I think you guys have, beat it up enough that you can probably take a motion and a vote here to try to move this on. Are we gonna go with a construction management, or are we gonna have a motion to proceed with a bid, competitive bid process.
So the bid process is exactly how Jack just explained it.
Pretty much.
With a full set.
I mean, I simplified it, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, there'll be a full set of plans, we'll direct the architect to go ahead and do the plan.
I make that motion,
I second.
that we move forward with a full set of drawings.
Motion made by motion made by Jason, seconded by Phil.
Who is that guy beside him?
Yeah, seconded. Any other discussion? Before we take a vote, the motion is that we're gonna tell Lita, finish. If it will pass, we're gonna tell Lita, finish with everything, get all of the documents ready, and then that's gonna go out to bid.
Correct.
And work with, and manage the bid process.
Yeah,
We're
Manage the
not
bid
gonna do
process.
that, she's gonna manage the bid process, right?
and then when the bids come back, we're gonna look at the bids, and then we're gonna hire a clerk to make sure that everything gets done right. Okay?
I don't know if it needs to be changed, but I would mention to her that we're not, we don't just want 3 bids. You know, I want this to go to bid, like Jack had referenced,
I think.
Kittery to Presque Isle.
Correct, I think that's exactly what we'll have to do.
Yeah, we were
All
in
the
New Hampshire,
publications,
we
all
got
the
New Hampshire
newspapers.
bidders.
Cause she's mentioned several times that she uses the same pool on bids, and that's what we're trying to avoid here.
Okay.
Okay? Everybody knows what the motion is, no other further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? None is opposed.
Okay, thank you much. We're moving down the road.
Okay.
Next I had, Dan, was just to give you try to start giving some thought to dedication or recognition in the town report. I'm not looking for you folks to provide me, but we haven't talked about it, so please give it some thought. I can send you, some of my thought process on it, and then maybe that'll help you move along, so. If we can do that at perhaps our next meeting.
Yep.
Wrap that up, that'd be great.
Send us what you think, and if anybody else has any other ideas based on, what Keith sends us or whatever, we can discuss at the next meeting. Okay?
Again, we don't have enough public here tonight, we talked about it, but the public information meeting on the process that we've used to date, all the work that's been put in by the committee, the architect. We'll have another public information meeting tomorrow night in this room at 7 o'clock. Love to have everybody attend.
Can you include me this time in the initial introduction of everything?
Listen, that recognition for the town report piece, we're working on it.
I don't wanna see his mouth on there.
And finally, under manager's report, an update on the military truck. As you know, we got it here, discovered that that we had what was it, that the block was bad, that one of the push rods, I think, was disconnected. So what Roger did, Roger wanted to make sure that everything, all the other mechanicals within the truck were operational, even though we only paid $2,800 for this truck. So what he did is they sealed the block as best they could, put some old motor oil in it, reconnected the rod, and fired it up, and drove it around, and the transmission works fine, the brakes work fine, everything's fine. So the limiting factor now is to get a new block for this Cummins diesel, so that's what they're working on now. So the good news, I guess, is the fact that it operates. The bad news is we're gonna have to rebuild the motor with a new block to get it to operate.
Let's call it, Phil, can you get them? Can you get those? I mean,
Yeah, if you buy new, it's quite a bit of money,
Expensive, yeah.
but there's used engines out there. If you shop around the right places, you get used engines reasonable.
Yeah, get the whole engine, never mind the block, you get the whole.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get it, you get the whole engine,
Right,
just swap them out,
right,
and that would be the least expensive way to go.
yeah.
with a, you know, there's old trucks out there everywhere with Cummins engines in them,
Yeah,
you just gotta find the right one.
What size would it be?
it's a 400 big bore. What's in it now? 400 Cummins big bore. It was built from the 60s to the late 80s, early 90s, and then it was discontinued by Cummins. So, but when I went online, there are a bunch of them out there for
Yeah.
$4,500 to $5,000, so it wasn't
Yeah.
like it was a lot of money to get one.
They're definitely out there.
So is that something
You
that,
know, if you know of something,
I'll check around.
alright. Let Roger know.
Yep.
And we'll go from there.
is that something that if we'd have been able to send somebody down, would they have been able to pick up on that?
We've already had this conversation. If we buy another one, we'll never do that again. We'll send somebody down.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheap money to send
Yeah.
somebody down there and
Yeah.
take a look at it. When Roger would, the other night was saying, oh, we just think that the battery was,
Right,
I had my doubts. but-
yeah. So, I mean, Maryland Eastern Shore isn't that far away. We
Right.
could have driven down there and looked at it and come back, or, but, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheap money.
We
and
bought a
you
couple
could
of these
save.
military
Right.
equipment before, and this is the first time that we've actually got.
Even if we have to buy,
tagged on
put
it.
a motor in it, we're still saving a ton of freaking money,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
so it's
Yeah,
still
you know.
worth it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good, I didn't know it was here, I knew that it was, at some point in time it was coming, but I didn't know it was here.
Oh, it's
so-
here. We got the bad news, it came on Thursday, I got the bad news on Friday.
All right. General business. So, you put together a warrant article?
I did, you know, some of it, I think we've sort of taken care of the bid document tonight. All of the financial numbers for the, capital reserve accounting as well as the general operating budgets are in there. What I did add, was the, request to, it ended up being Article 32. Shall the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sell for back taxes and interest a 10.86 acre parcel identified as map 33 lot 3, conveyed to the town in 1998 to the original owners of the parcel. And what we're referring to there is the parcel that, was up near Weir's Motors that we were looking at. They had shown an interest of regaining ownership of it. We just can't donate it back as they donated it to us, we have to release it for back taxes and interest. So they are agreeable to that, and so that's the way I wrote the article.
Might wanna have the dollar figure handy, just in case. it
Yeah,
gets asked.
I will, yeah, when we get to the point here.
Is it?
It's Article 32.
But I mean, did you,
No, that's something else, that's an
Oh.
installment for tax acquired property that original owner wants to.
I would suggest, Keith, that we put the, rather than sell for back taxes, that's a little confusing to me,
Okay.
what we're doing there. Just we'll figure out the number is. and
Put
put
that
it in there.
figure in.
Alright,
No, no.
now, if we put that number in there, do you think that we're gonna have to, have some discussion with the budget board? Because it's funny, you know, we're looking at a number, and I don't think so,
No, I don't
because it's not,
No, it's just revenue, right?
right, it's just a collection of revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if you put that number in there, aren't you gonna have to go out to bid?
oh, no. Yeah, okay, we can put the number in.
We're selling, not buying.
Who let you in?
The other thing is that there was a change in the statute, you'll see it under Article 41, that I modified this authorizes the Board of Selectmen on behalf of the town to sell and dispose of any property acquired by the town for non-payment of taxes, consistent with state statutes law, except, and I qualified it there, this language comes from MMA, except the municipal officials shall use a special sales process required under 36(9)43C for qualifying homestead property if they choose to sell to anyone other than the former owner. So there's there's a process now in place to provide the former owners a little more leeway, to get that. So I added that to it. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, was Article 13, and it had to do with the police patrol protection services, because at your, Dan, you talked about and not to exceed some, which was a little bit different than what we've done in the past. I've confirmed the 181,086 as being the number.
We did that because we didn't know what the
Right.
wood cost replacement would
Right.
be.
And I'm not sure that we really need it, we've never
No.
used it before.
I don't think we need it now, cause we
Yeah.
know what the number is.
Okay,
Right, we didn't know the number of that when
Right.
we talked about this.
okay, so we'll remove that. Other than that, I think everything else that we generally have in the warrant is there. Obviously, this isn't the final warrant. I think I wanna try to work on maybe making some additional modifications to the sequence that they're in. But other than that, I think the warrant, when it's ready, obviously it'll be to you before, sometime in May for your final approvals.
So, we have to modify Lita's contract a little bit, and that won't affect, we don't have to do anything for the warrant on any of that, right? We don't have to add nothing, we don't.
Nope, that money is in the municipal building fund. And you have the ability to expend those funds.
Yep.
On that vote, which you've already taken a formal vote.
Yep.
On that amount.
Okay, next item.
Good night. Yeah.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
See you tomorrow night.
Okay.
The next thing is that we have a property owner at map 33, lot 33, that'd like to repurchase their property. Came in, spoken to us, we've been trying to get a hold of them. This property owner doesn't have all the money up front. He'd like to enter into an installment contract, which would require them paying us $300 a month for the next 12 months to capture the $3,289.11 that they owe. And they would be providing us a check for $300 on the third Thursday of each month when they get paid. So we put together the installment contract. The property owner has come in and signed it. I have the original here. We've sealed it and signed it. What it would need now will be action from the board to enter into this agreement. We've done these before, and it
That was
seems
gonna
to
be-
work
That was
out.
gonna be my question, I don't recall, but.
Yeah, we have.
You used this form before?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I had to look at it a couple times too, because it talks about land purchases and, but when I look at the statute, it's the form to use.
It's the form to use between you and I, if you were buying a piece of land from me.
Right.
But, I mean, not for the municipality, I don't think, I mean, we don't wanna give evidence of title, you know? We don't have, if the vendor defaults on any mortgage on the property, that's not applicable, we don't have any mortgage on the property. It ought to recite that foreclosure is the remedy here if she defaults. Now, it doesn't say that, and, well, this form should be looked over, plus it has her as one of the municipal officers.
Oh, geez, yeah, okay. I didn't even pick on up on that, thank you. So I guess we'll table it at this point until we get the right document.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the concept, but
Right, I think the concept is to try to give the property owner the opportunity to regain their property.
that's fine, but this is, as I said, this would be something that you
Okay.
and I would enter into, but not, we're giving her what we've got, which may mean nothing.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have the right form?
Tom doesn't think so. So we're gonna.
Well,
go back
we
and
don't
look
have
at
it
again.
here, but I mean,
Yeah, if we don't, I think we can create a form and.
Yeah, maybe wanna just check with MMA
Yeah.
and see if this is
And,
required in a municipal setting, but I can't believe it is.
we have used this before, though. I don't know if we modified it or not, I have to go back and look.
all right,
Thank you.
okay. Next item is a discussion of the publication of the arrow.
Yeah, at your last meeting, Donna had provided read a letter into the record as to, her feelings about the arrow being more regularly published. Provided some, documentation to back up her thoughts on that. You asked me to put it back on the, board's agenda for further discussion tonight. That's what it's there for.
So, in reading your notes, as I get to it, there we go. Oh, it's in your,
I'm generally not opposed to the publication of it. I think where I'm opposed to, and I think I laid it out in my notes, is that we need to have some sort of general advocate who's collecting data, framing it in such a way that our staff can go ahead and do I think what Don had alluded to and what the comprehensive plan talked about in terms of what should be in there. The only thing I disagreed with was the opinions to be expressed within the arrow. I don't think that's what this document should do, but, information about general information about town activities, boards and committees and what they're doing, maybe other neutral, social organizations within town. We talked about the Boy Scouts and the Historical Society having articles that can go into this. I think that's all good stuff. I think it really needs somebody to manage that. I wish Jack had stayed, because Jack has been taking care of the progress report for the building. And, my conversation with him, anywhere between 10 to 12 hours of work time for him to put this together, type it, so it's a word process. That may, if we have the proper outline as to what we want in the document. But I'm an advocate not to have it sitting on my desk. If you decide that it needs to sit there, then I will instruct staff to make sure, I'll put the outline together, we'll instruct staff to make sure that it gets done on when you want it. But I would love to see maybe somebody from the community that really would like to be the editor of this thing.
Yeah, why can't we put something out? Why can't we put feelers out and ask and see if there's somebody that's willing to do that?
I think we got the staff to make sure it's, put in order, we can print it, we can fold it, and we can bulk mail it. And we have the capability of doing that.
Doesn't Simone have the outline on her computer?
She probably does, she's done it since I've been here.
Yeah. So we have the
But
outline.
I think, one of the things that we talked about today is, be nice to have somebody who is the de facto editor of the Arrow, that maybe comes to meetings, listens to what's going on, maybe interviews staff, maybe goes down to talk to Roger to see what's going on. Be nice to have that kind of community involvement, that's my thought, but.
Maybe it's something that we have to offer a stipend for, I don't know, but.
Maybe once the outline's done, it'll be more, and I think it's mostly done, and we'll be more able to put it together, but.
How does everybody else feel about this?
Well, I'm wondering, since Simone is working part-time and working her way into retirement, if that's something that she would take on as an editor with a stipend.
Possibly, I can ask her. She's doing it now.
Yeah.
She does it now. She chases down the pieces that need to go into the arrow, or whoever has them, she makes the phone calls and that kind of thing.
I mean, I know it's maddening because she sometimes has to contact people several times. And I think in her shoes, I would contact them once, maybe twice, and if their information wasn't there, the arrow might be one page rather than two. I think one page double-sided. If it ends up one page double-sided, at least it's information that the townspeople are getting.
Just another way of them gathering information.
Yes.
And it could be, you know, certain departments that we wanna make sure, and we let the editor decide that, but maybe there are certain departments that we wanna make sure that we hit every quarter. You know, maybe Tad can give a, quick update on, or Jim on permits, or, something like that, every quarter that we hit and we put in there, and, to Velma's point, you contact the Boy Scouts, you got something, you got something, if they don't have anything, you move
I
on.
think as long as you have an outline, a strong outline that's put together, which we could do, that gives you topics that you're gonna have on a general basis on the article in the paper every time, then.
To me, it needs to happen. I mean, I agree 100% with Donna, that we've had that arrow for a long time, and, I think it's good, we get criticized all the time for not getting information out, and everybody knows that there's an Arundel arrow. And everybody in town knows it, and I don't think we should get away from that, but we need to figure out a way to do it, whether we hire somebody to do it, put it in our budget, or we just put feelers out. I don't know at this point, but we have to at least pursue that.
Everybody else feeling the same way?
That's something we can put on the website, like a little.
Well, I think-
Well, normally when the arrow comes out, we put a copy of it on the website.
Right.
But I mean, as far as a feeler for an editor, or
Oh,
that's something we
Let
can.
me talk to Simone, see how she feels about that. That's a good suggestion, she may be willing to do it. She may have the outline there, and it just may be a matter of getting the stories together. I think the important thing is the stories, people providing us the information, so we can put it in.
Yeah, and that's her duties at town hall, listen, she'll have more time to do this.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
she may wanna travel a little bit more than she's
Yeah.
doing now.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
You may look right at me and say, no.
That's okay, at least we know which path we're gonna go.
All right, we'll work on it. I get the sense that it's something that you guys wanna do, so we're gonna do it.
I'm about as old school as it gets,
Yeah.
but even I'm getting dragged into this no paper climate, at our office, our mail is cut in half because everything's emailed, we don't have paper anywhere. And of course, you get storage problems too, and I know you don't disagree with that, but I just think the website's enough, but I'm not gonna object or anything.
But you still need the arrow, you could do the arrow and just make it electronic.
Well,
No,
no,
that's
that
what
that
Tom wants.
defeats half of my plea.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of people in town who A, do not own a computer. I know a number of them who have them, but they don't have any idea how to work them. And then I'll put myself in this category, I'm perfectly capable of reading something on the computer, but I absolutely refuse to, because it's eye strain and I hate it, I like paper, I still read paper books, I don't care how heavy they are. So, to accommodate all of the people in town, I'm gonna say the elderly, we need to have something on paper in addition to what's on the website. And what's on the website has been terrific. I mean, John's done a great job in terms of keeping everybody informed, but we still need that arrow. The other suggestion I might make when you're looking for a mechanism for this is maybe get a team of two. So you have two people who somehow either share the duties in terms of splitting who they contact to get information from, or perhaps one is in charge of assembling the information on the word processor, and the other one is in charge of gathering the information to get it there. That might work, because I know that one of the problems in the past has been, as Velma made reference to, just getting someone who is asked to give information, getting it there in a timely fashion. And I guess the other thing I'd say, some of the things in the past that have been requested from some of the department managers, or department heads have been rather lengthy. For each, it doesn't have to be lengthy, you can just put in a series of bullet points, you know, from the sheriff's department, this is an item.
How many
From
stops, how many DUIs, that kind of thing.
that kind of thing, and that's something that's always been asked for, we've never seen. In reference to something you mentioned about the comprehensive plan, requesting an opinion section, I fought mightily against that when we revised the comp plan last time, lost that vote. But, you know,
Yeah, I don't, that's
That's
going
a-
down the dangerous path.
yeah, hornet's nest.
Yeah,
I mean, there could conceivably be an issue where you could do an opposing viewpoint thing, from the standpoint almost of a third party.
right.
As in, you know, we have two views in town about this, these are the facts for this one, these are the facts for that one, it could work, but, a general opinion, no.
We might as well just open up Facebook for that. Okay,
But I do appreciate you moving forth with this, that's terrific, thank you.
okay, next item on the agenda is Bentley's amusement permit.
Yes, I gave you copies, I have the originals here where the signatures go, but, they're requesting an application for special amusement permit for provided the times. I think this is generally, the same times that they've had in the past. They've, provided, information that you need, in terms to make a decision.
I think we've done this for them every year.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, I don't see any problem, so I make a motion, we approve the special amusement permit for Bentley's.
A motion by Velma to approve,
I'll second.
second by Phil. Any other discussion?
I bring it up like I do every year. The only thing I would ask is the flow of travel for the ambulance and the fire trucks. You guys have done a great job the last couple of years, but
Yeah, we, actually, the fire department's coming over again this week.
Yeah.
So we go over all that, then the sheriffs are coming the same day.
now that we have a map, do you have the map in front of you?
I don't,
Where's that food truck gonna go in reference to A, B, and C, do you know?
well, do you know where the, victory sign is, the motorcycle sign?
Yep.
We're gonna move it up
Okay.
about in the middle there, so that way, when you come through the back lot, you can there's plenty of room to go by it. You know, the alleyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's gonna go closer to the street. But that gentleman, is very sick now.
Oh, no kidding.
He's got leukemia.
Oh, boy,
The food truck?
Yeah.
that's too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, all those in favor? Motion carries.
Next one is the license, for the liquor license, for the, establishment. All the paperwork has been filled out. Fees have been paid.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to, accept the liquor license for Bentley Saloon. Motion by Jason, seconded by Tom, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Excuse me, Jason.
Carries.
We also are upgrading the sprinkler system throughout the,
Yeah, I heard rumors of that.
yeah, I met with the fire chief and all that, and, he's given us permission to do it in stages, otherwise, because I gotta tell you, the contractors are so tough to get prices out of.
Need a full set of drawings.
Yeah, so I finally got prices back after spending all winter. And when I talked to the fire marshal, he goes, you know, the problem is, Bruce, the economy, we understand, we'll work with you.
Yeah.
So I just wanna let you know, I'm signing the contract tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, you guys have done a great job.
Yeah, we tried.
times past to keep that flow. At
Yeah.
the beginning, it was, whew, try to get the ambulance in that parking lot.
Yeah, well, we put a lot of signs up and made a lot of sawhusses and
Yeah,
then we got the younger kids that parking cars, they're doing a great job.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is, expansion of areas for alcohol consumption.
Right, during events, within the parking lot area, they've identified the events that would be taking place, and they provided, again, another, drawing to show where all this would go.
It's the same as it was last year.
Correct.
No signatures required here, all I need is a motion and some action.
I've been there for several of those events and have seen no problems whatsoever.
yeah, so move.
So we got a motion by Jason
I'll second that.
and a second by Velma to approve the expansion of alcohol, consumption areas.
Yeah.
And the dates provided. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thanks, guys. Ladies.
Thank you. Okay. On to other business. Payroll and payroll warrants.
So move.
Motion by Velma,
Second.
seconded by Tom to approve payables and payroll warrants. All those in favor?
You will see a payable in there for our share of the TIF money going back to the cottages.
That must be coming to an end, isn't it?
Oh, God, no.
No?
The payback? I thought that was only for the first, like,
No,
4 years or something.
20 years.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty extensive.
Was it significantly higher the first 3 or 4 years or something? or-
No,
Why am I thinking that?
Yeah,
No.
why,
no, we had to, it continues to go up as more value comes onto into the district, so all we had to do was initially capture the amount that was the original lot, which was like $750,000. That is taken out of the TIF, that money that's raised there goes directly into the tax coffers. And then the rest of it is split up, 67-33, based on 75% of the value. So you still get 25% of that new construction value goes directly in, the rest of it gets split between the town and the company. Right now, Velma's correct, I think it was 148 and some change, and we're at 79,000 and some change in this time that will be going into that TIF.
Just out of curiosity, can you find out just how many units he sold? Curious as to how that's going on. I know that last year he sold quite a bit, he
Yeah.
sold quite a bit of them, and just out of curiosity.
could not believe it when I went up through for the meeting when Phil got his award up there.
Did you guys return the,
No, I have it right here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I took a ride after, I
Yeah.
went all the way
Yeah.
So I
around.
didn't pay that.
Wow. Okay, anybody else got anything else they want added or say? Jason,
I move to adjourn.
I have a motion by Jason,
Second?
seconded by Phil at 8:23 PM to adjourn. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Only 1:41.